When people in the Western world talk about the Crusades, they almost always mean one thing: the fight for Jerusalem, that of knights in chainmail riding toward Jerusalem, locked in a civilizational struggle with the Islamic world. In Christian memory, the Crusades became a foundational story, a mythic moment that helped create a shared European identity against a common enemy, the Islam, from the East. That idea still echoes into the 21st century. But there is another set of crusades that Europe has almost entirely forgotten: the Northern Crusades. These campaigns, waged between the 12th and 14th centuries, were every bit as holy and every bit as brutal as the Crusades in the Middle East. In this case also, there were religious military orders: the Teutonic Order, the Livonian Brothers of the Sword. There were heavily armored warrior monks sworn to fight for Christ. There were sieges, forced conversions, epic battles, massacres, cultural collisions. And yet, unlike the Crusades in Jerusalem, these crusades barely exist in European popular memory. Why? Because the Northern Crusades were not fought against Muslims, but against other Europeans. The targets were the pagans of the Baltic and Northeast Europe: Prussians, Lithuanians, Finnic tribes, Livonians, Old Prussians, Curonians, and many other Indo-European and Uralic peoples. These were the original inhabitants of vast regions of Europe, practicing ancient religions, speaking ancestral languages, following pre-Christian traditions that had shaped European identity long before Christianity arrived. The Northern Crusades were, in a sense, Europe at war with its own past, a Christianizing conquest of indigenous European cultures. And they were devastatingly successful. Unlike the Crusades in the Middle East, which ultimately failed, the Northern Crusades achieved every major goal. Entire cultures were destroyed or absorbed. Pagan religions vanished. Languages died out, Old Prussian, for example. Indigenous elites were replaced with Germanic Christian rulers. The social landscape of the Baltic changed forever. Because of this total success, the Northern Crusades produced one of the largest cultural erasures in European history. And when a conquest is that complete, there is often no one left to tell the story from the losing side, and no political incentive for the victors to commemorate it. There is also a deeper, more uncomfortable psychological dimension. The Northern Crusades force Europe to confront the fact that the continent once had indigenous religions. Those religions were violently suppressed, and that these suppressions were done by Europeans to other Europeans. That is a much harder story to integrate into a triumphant narrative of European Christian civilization. As a result, popular memory shifted. Pagan ancestors became recast as savages, barbarians, or practitioners of dark rituals. This reframing was so complete that modern Europeans often feel disconnected from, or even ashamed of, their own ancient heritage. The only places where pagan Europe is widely talked about today are academic history departments, neo-pagan groups, and within fringe extremist circles that twist pagan symbols for their own purposes. The Northern Crusades marked the final triumph of Christianity in Europe and the end of pagan Europe, the last breath of the continent's prehistoric religions. They reshaped the political landscape of the Baltic, led to the rise of powers like Prussia, recast the cultural memory of an entire continent. This was not a footnote. This was a civilizational earthquake. So why are they forgotten? Because remembering them forces Europe to face a difficult truth: that Christian Europe did not only clash with Islam, it also conquered, erased, and overwrote the cultures from which it emerged.